Warning, the Dub Talk podcast contains language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. There will also be spoilers for various anime throughout the course of this episode. Please use caution in case we discuss a series that you haven't finished. Finally, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and may not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Dub Talk Supernatural Space Program, Comrade. I am your commander, Comrade Megan, and with me tonight I have Comrade Jackson the Vampire,
Kilo Flippolton,
Comrade Amon the Skeleton Man.
I am from Yugoslavia, I do not recognize your Soviet ways. Boo! Boo!
And Comrade Patrick the Werewolf.
I shall go to the one place uncorrupted by capitalism. Space.
If you had under 2 minutes for Command and Conquer joke, congratulations, collect your rubles in the comments. And now I'm going to throw away that accent so that I can say hello, because I'm not doing that the entire episode, for you would all want to gouge out your ears.
Oh, hell no.
I would absolutely do Command and Conquer jokes all episode.
Yeah, you are free to do, you are Dub Talk episode drinking game. Drink every time there's a Command and Conquer joke.
This gun is heavy.
But hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Dub Talk, the show where we talk about the latest and greatest in anime dubs, or whatever we fucking feel like on the night. This might be one of the latters. Tonight, we are here to talk about the 2021 fall anime, Irina the Vampire Cosmonaut, aka, if I had a nickel for every time Funimation 2021 dubbed a historical retelling with supernatural creatures that happen to be vampires, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird if you think about it.
Time is an illusion. What was the other one in that?
Mars Red, which was in spring of that year. I think that was genuinely, I believe it was like the year that Funimation just kept getting vampire shows before they, decided to start Ratatouille and Hime, because I'm not allowed to say the other version because it's apparently offensive to children. But I think that was the year they had that, the first season of The Vampire Dies in No Time, and my beloved child visual prison all in one season.
Yeah, they were back in fashion. Vampires.
They should always stay in fashion, except for that one time Crunchyroll co-produced a webtoon about a vampire and decided to make the first episode 70 chapters into the series.
But we're not talking about that one today.
Or that one
we're talking...
Otome game adaptation that we don't talk about. Ugh.
That was Sentai's Child, but I would like to see Sengoku Nightblood actually dubbed. Because that is, what if we made vampires and werewolves fight each other in Sengoku Japan?
Really an all-time classic story in literature that needs to be adapted again and again and again.
And dubbed, please, Crunchyroll. So, if you haven't heard of Irina the Vampire Cosmonaut, I will read the summary, which is actually from the light novels, which is being published by Seven Seas, which is a fierce space race between 2 global superpowers gives rise to the Nosferatu Project, a top-secret plan to trade up some unusual cosmonauts, vampires. When Lev Leps, a human soldier, is ordered to surprise a vampire test subject, Irina Limnask, the unlikely pair bonds over their shared dream of reaching the stars. Together, can a human and a vampire duo rise above the chaos and corruption down on Earth and blast off into the final frontier? Spock! So this was actually simuldubbed before Funimation got merged into Crunchyroll, or whatever you feel like talking about it. But let's just kind of dive into our director and writers. So our main director of the series is one Chris George, who is assisted by Austin Tyndall. And our writers were Holly Segura and Caitlin Barr. Chris George you will know as the director of BEM, Pop Team Epic, both seasons, and Wonder Egg Priority. while Austin Tyndall assisted on series such as Bem Become Human, which is the movie, Life Lessons with Uramichi Onisan, and Wandering Witch, The Journey of Elena. Holly Segura has written for series such as One Piece, Strike Witches, The Road to Berlin, and Domestic Girlfriend. And Caitlin Barr has written for series such as Darwin's Game, Sasaki and Miyano, and Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. So how do you guys feel about the direction and writing of the show?
Frankly, for the time period it was dubbed in, it was pretty consistent. Like, I would say even more so than a few of the dubs I've heard in the post Crunchyroll era of Dallas dubs. Like, characters for the most part sounded like they were recording in the same room, even though this probably would have been this would have still been dubbed during the time period. Everything would have been done remote, or at the very least
The height of recording from home. Yeah.
This was towards the tail end, I think, of recording at home.
Yeah. So there was probably, I want to say there might have been a point where this might have been brought into the studio for at least a couple of the actors, but you can't really tell.
I should note that at the time we're recording this has been released on Blu-ray, so there are obviously things that could have been touched up between simulcast dubbing and putting out on Blu-ray.
Right.
Yeah, I think for myself, I've only seen the version available streaming, and there hasn't been an uncut version made available streaming, which would have been the home video version.
Yeah. And honestly, for a show that has two directors, it feels pretty consistent as well. At the very least, it feels like the director was assigned to a specific character, so it all kind of felt consistent. It's one of those cases where there's a lot of people working on the back end, but you can't really tell, and honestly, that's surprising to me.
Thank you, Patrick. And any next up?
I suppose I'll chime in from here. Yeah, I was thinking about that last point. Like, there are quite a few characters that have changes of heart throughout the series, and there is a lot of subterfuge going on throughout the series that you're kind of keeping an eye out and ear out for, but they're really playing it close to the chest quite a lot throughout that in the acting and the writing through this. Like, we've got a lot of technical dialogue for 1950s/60s space race jargon that we're going through. The Russian, I couldn't comment if that was well pronounced, but it's enough to fool my amateur ears on that part. Yeah, and like, it is this. The thing that tells you that it was recorded from home is that we have cast members from across the country in this. So that, just goes to show the exciting experimentation that was happening during that time that I like to see. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to raise on the directing and writing itself at this point.
Amon?
It's a good, solid dub. I thought it was very well put together. I thought everyone gave very strong performances. The direction was good. I am kind of in favor of them not opting to do accents, just because my terrible mid-century poisoned brain sometimes has a hard time taking people who are clearly not Russian speaking Russian accents seriously. My brain defaults to Chekhov in Star Trek, who's doing a great job but sounds funny now, and he was kind of funny at the time too. I put this. I love Jerry Jewell and Yuri on Ice, but that's a comedy accent, and I found that unless it's an actual Russian speaker, a lot of them tend to come across as comedy accents, even if they're not meant to. So I think that was a good choice for the show.
Yeah. We're doing comedy accents ourselves this episode to amuse ourselves.
Exactly, precisely.
Yeah.
Not that the show's bereft of jokes, but I think that's the wrong kind of comedy to go for. I think otherwise people kind of said their piece already. Like, it's a good, solid dub, and I kind of forgot this was recorded still during like remote times. I'm always very impressed how well some of those come together, because I'm sure that's just an immense amount of work So kudos on that front, too.
Yeah, no, it's actually really interesting you bring up the accent part, because I agree with what you guys said. There's a lot of really good stuff going on here. I really want to compliment Holly and Caitlin for keeping a lot of the dialogue very time appropriate, because this is, again, a historical fiction. It is historical fiction retelling of essentially what is, I think, probably one of the more interesting parts, I think, of modern world history, which is the Cold War and the space race. And it's kind of a subject that has just, I think, in general, fascinated a lot of people over the years. Like, I will 100% admit, like, one of my favorite, like, movies I saw a lot in high school. Let me get the film, I think it was.
The Hunt for Red October.
It's not The Hunt for Red October. It's actually not. It's another movie that is, like, it's about, like, high school kids making a rocket.
Okay. Well, it can't be Dr. Stone, because that's middle school kids.
It's definitely... the answer is October Sky.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that a lot as a teenager. But, like, I like that, and then, like, another one of my favorite movies of all time, which is also later Cold War era, but still Cold War era, but it is the greatest single piece of sports media ever made of all time, is Miracle, starring Thing star Kurt Russell. And if I haven't ever made you watch it, I fucking will, because it's the movie about one of the greatest moments in America of all time. Fuck off. But never putting any too much, like, super modern slang into it. Like, a lot of the humor for the time really felt like it was there, except for maybe one thing, and that's not something I'm going to blame them on. I'm just going to blame that on stupid light novel bullshit. And that is Anya's really weird insistence on calling her, Irina.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of felt like stupid anime bullshit.
Yeah, no, they've isolated all of the stupid anime bullshit and put it into one character.
Yeah.
That's
and yet she's still really cool.
Because it's legally obligated to be there.
Yeah, the lowest points of this show is when it does stupid light novel bullshit.
Yeah, and it also doesn't translate well into English either, because it sounds even more cringe when you're doing those kind of cutesy nicknames.
Yeah, but back to my little point, like, the thing about the accents is, I 100% agree, because a lot of the show is very grounded, and a lot of the performances excel because they are able to take advantage of the more grounded nature of the show, and a lot of how natural a lot of the chemistry between certain characters is. So having the accents, one, could intentionally make that come off the wrong way. And another thing that was kind of brought to my attention was I was talking to my friend, Getter, and they were talking at another time to another mutual friend of ours named N1, and they were talking about, I think, like, a game or something where all the characters lived in like, kind of that area where the Russian / Slavic, like, language accents would be. And they were like, well, no, the dub doesn't need the accents because it's very clear they're all speaking the same language.
Right.
It's like, I never really thought of it like that. It's like, you kind of do accents sometimes in shows like Yuri on Ice. It makes sense to give people accents because you need to portray that all of these characters are coming from potentially non-speaking areas, and English may not be their first language, hence why Yuri and Victor have and especially when you're doing Asian languages as more of, like, the base normal English speaking, because God knows, like, let's be real, a bad Russian accent is funny. A bad Asian accent is super racist.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we don't need to do any of this, sleight of hand to disguise them speaking two different languages, or to show them speaking two different languages in English without having to do the accents, because everyone's here on the same page. It's that magic Babel flesh.
Goofy Russian accent, you get Yuri on Ice, which is fun. Bad Asian accent, you get Garo Vanishing Line, and that's oof.
We're not going. We at Dub Talk refuse to acknowledge that moment ever happened. But yeah, no, I definitely agree with you guys on the writing and the direction front. I think genuinely, I'm also kind of surprised that and I'm happy that Chris George. I'll talk about it more when we get to the character. I actually specifically like the choice that Chris had Irina's actor play, because I did watch a couple episodes of this in the Japanese, and the way they chose to have Irina's performer play her, I think worked better to her character than having her have, like, the more typical, like, tsundere high-pitched girl voice in the Japanese. But I'll get to that when we actually talk about Irina as a character. Are we all good to move on to our first set of characters? It's going to be probably the largest section, because these are a lot of characters who are in a lot of the show, but they're not, like, the core characters, and they kind of, like, there's, like, 3 core characters, I think, to the series.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 if you think about it, but these are kind of all the big supporting players. Mm-hmm. So, first up, we have Franz. Franz is the assistant scientist on the training program, and he is one of Lev's good friends. Eventually, he tries to sabotage to get Irina killed, and is disappeared. You know.
Franz who? Never met him.
Exactly. And then there's his boss, Slagovich, who's an asshole.
More like slag a bitch.
Thank you, Jackson. He believes that vampires are a cursed species, wears a cross. Garlic at one point tries to beat Irina, pistol whips Irina with a garlic garland, and then he also gets disappeared. We have Natalia. Natalia is, quote-unquote, the dorm matron for all of the recruits of the Cosmonaut program, but in truth, she is a member of the secret police, observing everybody, and being so secretive and kind of running that group. Then we have Professor Mohaski, who is the person who kind of is the first scientist who really kind of sets up the Nosferatu project. He kind of just comes in and out and assists a lot on the launches. Then we have Slava Korovin. He is the head scientist and engineer that designs all of the rockets and is just genuinely, like, a cool dude. He takes kindly to Lev and Irina because of Lev's respect for his work and Irina's desire and respect for space. He also gives Irina her code name of Lycaris and helps Lev choose his of Aster. There's Lieutenant Victor. He is in charge of the Cosmonaut program and is kind of Lev's mentor / boss / helps pick who's going to be the final person. There's Ludmila Hodlov. She is this woman that is super close to the grand leader, Fyodor Gergiev. She essentially is kind of a manipulator and string puller and kind of sarcastic seductress who works in the shadows to get the results that they want so that the Empire of Zarnev looks better to the world and to their people as a form of propaganda. There is Fyodor Gygev. He is the head of the country. I think it's called Zarnev.
Zernitsha?
Right. Zernitsha.
It's UZSR. Yes. We're going to just call it Russia for a lot of this.
Yeah, we're just going to call it Russia.
Your paper thin name swapping won't fool us, buddy.
Yeah, what was it, Albania? Yeah, the US. Who, apparently, like, the only good thing that they ever came from the US was the cheeseburger.
No, that's correct.
I mean, Megan, this is a country that didn't allow jazz into its borders until last year. They can't be trusted.
This is fair.
They don't have taste.
Comrade, why does everything taste like snow?
It is snow, comrade. We've been over this.
You are a vampire. You don't have sense of taste. That is why.
Don't worry, we have no sense of taste either. That's why we watch Victor dance with Polar Bear. Gygev is the kind of fat man he thinks he's the leader, but we all know Ludmila's really the one in charge. he is the head of the nation. He is a kind of bumbling, forceful Elon Musk fat man Russian. What? I mean, get the job done, look better than the Americans. And he tries to be, he's about as charismatic as, he's about as charismatic as a Mormon in a bar.
He's about as charismatic as trying to launch a rocket on that isn't ready on 420.
He's about as charismatic as... Peter Gygax would buy a blue check mark.
Don't let it show. Hold it in. Conceal, don't feel.
Let it out, Jackson.
Oh, I shouldn't take a drink.
Then we have Mikhail Yashin. He is kind of for a long time, he is the very straight-laced kind of first candidate to be the first cosmonaut in space. He is kind of, like, he's very much the ideal what you think of an astronaut, but it turns out having a ginormous stick up your ass isn't good for publicity. And he doesn't get to be the first cosmonaut, and then there's Rosa
Plevitskaya?
Plevitskaya, aka the White Rose of Sergov. Whatever the Stalingrad stand-in is for this show.
Songrad?
Oh, yeah. The White Rose of Songrad. She is the only female candidate out of the 20 cosmonauts, and she is incredibly harsh to prove that she is better and doesn't let anybody get her down. She is the first of the final 3 eliminated because Lev saves her life when she goes into a spin from being scared. And yeah, so going over the actors for this group, I know this is a big group, but there are a lot of characters that we're going to talk about very quickly. Franz is played by AJ Beckles, who you know as Matt Ishida in the new Digimon Adventure 2020 dub. Musashi in Orient, and Shiki Tadamaru in Kimono Jihen. This one I actually had to find out from the Blu-ray because he wasn't credited on ANN until today. Slagovich is played by Ben Phillips, who plays President Turtle in Africa Salaryman. This is probably one of the greatest names for a butler character of all time. Jeeves Wodehouse in Hayatana Illusion. And he is the older version of Rudius in Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. Natalia is played by Caitlin Glass, who's played characters such as Winry Rockbell in the Fullmetal Alchemist franchise, Miria Havernet in Bakudo, and Mina Ashido in My Hero Academia. Professor Molozensky is played by Christopher Bevins, whose characters such as Natsuki Issei in All Out. Because we are talking about a show that is vaguely set in Russia, Grigory Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen, in Drifters, and Takamura in Ping Pong the Animation. Slava Korovin is played by Mark Stoddard, who's played characters such as Spade in Aka 13, Scipio Africanis in Drifter, and Farmer Mazano in Samurai 7. Lieutenant Victor is played by Marcus Stimick, who's played characters such as Keiji Togashi in Aoashi, the narrator in Golden Kamui, and Don Bossman in Radiant. Ludmila Holivar is played by Morgan Lorraine Garrett, who plays characters such as Akira Mato in Tokyo Ghoul, Botan in Laughing Under the Clouds, and Asmodeus in The Seven Mortal Sins. Gygax is played by Bill Jenkins, who has played characters such as Manfred von Karma and Ace Attorney, Sadamoto in Ghost in the Shell Arise, and Hiromu Hidekata in Robotics Notes. Mikhail Yashin is played by Jonas Scott, who has played characters such as Raiden Shuga in 86, Akihito Kaji in Given, and Jin Tachibana in Talentless Nana. And Rosa is played by Kimmy Britt, who has played characters such as Hort in Dawn of the Witch, Seven in No Guns Life, and Shinichi Kato in The Vampire Dies in No Time.
Deep breaths.
Your thoughts?
Alrighty, here we go. I like AJ Beckles' Franz, even though he really doesn't get to do much. You really only see him in front of the Subterfuge, and everybody sabotages that, and yeah, that's basically it. I happen to get a really good chuckle out of Ben Phillips as as the sniveling weasel, Saglovich. Yeah, he is, like, not much to say because the character is very one tone, but That tone was done particularly well. Caitlin Glass is Caitlin Glass, doing the sort of the very nice, sweet character who is, if you don't behave yourself, she's going to send you to secret prison, where you will she'll send you to Siberia. And Christopher Bevins is Christopher Bevins. I'm glad to see him in a Funimation dub again, and frankly, it's good. It's good. They're, again, a character who doesn't really do too much to advance the plot, but just kind of glad Bevins is here. And I absolutely love Mark Stoddard as Slava Korvin. The character is sort of the wise grandpa to the space program, and he also does a really good job of an aspect of the character where Korvin is secretly dying of something. Even at the last episode of the show, you don't find out what it is, but he is taking a crap ton of medicine to keep something at bay. And Mark Stoddard does a particularly good job with those scenes where Korvin is clearly afflicted by something, and he's both in severe pain and trying to hide it from the people around him, because if the people around him find out, he's gone. And Marcus Stimac, as sort of the no-nonsense military man in the organization, I liked it. Again, like a lot of the earlier characters, not really much to say, but he does show up quite a bit, and for the most part, does a good job. Morgan Le Ray as Horova. Again, a very good performance, particularly in the scene where, Lev is basically on the bus going to the rocket, and she's trying to interview both him and Mikhail, and another little sniveling turd. But from an actor I'm not particularly used to hearing play sniveling little turds. Gergiev by Bill Jenkins. Bill Jenkins I'm more accustomed to as sort of the straight-laced narrator of One Piece.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
This was particularly cool to hear out of him. And I really hope Bill Jenkins continues to show up as more than just a narrator in other shows. And yeah, Jonas Scott as Mikhail Yashin. He does a good job playing a character with a stick up his ass. It's really, I can't say it's fun, but it's definitely it is definitely what the character needed. And then Kimmy Britt as Rosa, basically same deal. Like there's a lot of sticks up butts in the not Russian military here. And yeah, she also does a really good job with it, while also sort of trying to mask a vulnerability, because let's be frank, this is the not 1960s in not Russia, and women in the military was just kind of not a common thing. So yeah, all in all, the minor players of the show did a pretty good job overall. So, thumbs up.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. Let's see here. Franz, he's got an interesting little arc to him, just because he pretends to be Lev's friend through most of it. Maybe he really is, but he just has other goals and other priorities throughout his time in the show. And then he gets removed and forgotten about. And less said about the
It's the Russian way.
purging and what was it? Purging and the motherland discards things it doesn't need anymore, which is a common theme in the show. But you need Franz for a little bit in this, just to kind of demonstrate the corruption going on. Have some first-hand sabotage to go with that. It could be anybody, right? That's out to get you. Right? Don't trust anyone. Slagovich is also just serving a purpose. He's kind of amusing in how Ben Phillips can just crank up the absurd hatred that this character's got, but it's mostly for demonstrating the bigotry that we've got present in the country and through the government and through the world. But we've got... And he's just totally unreasonable. Cannot be consoled. Cannot be reasoned with. Just sniveling, hateful. Deserved to get punched in the face. So, did a good job with making him those things. Natalia, nice homegirl type for, introducing us to the matron dorm, having some friendly faces in and around the base, and then just flips a switch and starts yelling at men in black suits. Runs off stage in that direction. So comes in and leaves occasionally. Is totally fine characters. Don't have much to say about Chris Bevan's character. I like his mustache. That's about it. Slava's a cool dude. One thing I caught on the rewatch, because I had watched this like a year or two ago, whenever the dub had wrapped up, and then was watching it again. I was like, did I miss Slava having a child? Because he mentions Lev paid his child respect, and then I see I rewatch the scene. This is the chief director or chief designer, and Lev was showing respect to the rocket silo that had gone up and come back with the research data, and that's kind of what gives Slava to take a shine to Lev and take an interest in him. Lieutenant Victor, we've got Marcus Stimmick just being kind of no-nonsense drill sergeant type. Like, he's the one calling... He's the direct manager, boss type, calling out all the shots. And is taking to that mentor role in a very professional manner for most of it. It's like towards the very end, you get a little shot of him getting teary-eyed from Lev coming back and receiving his award, but that might more be like patriotism, pride, than anything else. I feel he's just that kind of like red-blooded Soviet type. Morgan Le Ray, she's well suited to this type of role where she's the sexy secretary that's keeping some things close to her chest, but in a lot of ways really not. Like, she tells Mikhail and Lev straight up that she's after a revolutionary, and is planting seeds all throughout the story just to try get to this end goal of the same thing. And Morgan's really effective at that. And I have similar feelings about Bill Jenkins as Gergiev, actually. Like, I don't see him as sniveling and weird or like bumbling. I think he's well suited to this being the figurehead that the country needs. Like, he's on the same side as Morgan's character throughout the show.
Yeah,
Fair.
I just think that she's the one pulling the strings.
Yeah, he's along for the ride. She's the brains of the operation, but he's all in favor of this. So
he's the one you can send out to go out in public and bang shoes on things.
Yeah, and he's got this real like warm and charismatic front to him when he's out there. Like he'll hug comrades and kiss babies for sure. And yeah, it is nice to have Bill Jenkins doing some good character work, even though he's outside of being the 11th Straw Hat for 20 years. So it's good to have him in the booth for something else. Mikhail ends up being interesting because throughout it, it's like Joe Scott's character is just kind of like outside and above all the drama of whatever's going on with Lev and this vampire chick that's invaded the base. Like he doesn't want to cause any trouble. He's in his own lane for most of it. It's not until like the very end where it's starting to shake up, and there's the possibility of him not getting that first position, not being the one to go up first, that he starts changing his tune a little bit, like, and cracking the armor that like, oh, he would wish bad things on Lev if it meant that he got the credit. He's not so selfless as some of the other characters, that he can't put that side of himself aside. But it is nice that, like, in that same moment, he also does recognize this about himself. It's like, well, I see why they were choosing this stuff. And despite being, like, red blood Soviet top of the class, like, we need something different for the hero of the nation. And it's kind of a similar thing with Rosa as the number 3 candidate, with that wrinkle of has to put on a brave front for being a woman in this environment. I do think like her performance ended up being a little bit weaker just from the stick up her ass part of the characters. Like it's hard to make that sound good, and I think Kim Ebert struggled with that a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's not taken away from the performance at all. It's just
it's not detrimental.
And then she's out of the story pretty quick, like a lot of these characters are. I think that covers the everyone in this group in short order.
Amon?
All right, let's see. Let's go back to the top. AJ's very good as Trons. At the very least, I definitely bought him and Lev's camaraderie a lot of time. Like, it coming out that he's like, spied, like, definitely felt like a shock, which, I think is, if there's one thing you need to nail with that character, it's you like him enough that it's like, oh, he's a spy? Oh, shit. Well, crap, we're never going to see him again, are we? Man, I liked him. He did a good job. Sagalevich sucks. He's terrible. I hate him. Ben plays him very well. What an asshole. Ben really like leans into the right like parts of his unlikability. I think he does an excellent job. Let's see. Caitlin's a lot of fun. I don't have too much more to add. It hasn't already been said. Bevins is. I like that Bevins periodically gets cast to play weird Russians. He did. What is it? I years ago I did that. That not very good. What the hell is it called? It's the Project Ito movie no one likes. He directed the dub for that. And
Harmony.
Harmony. He's in that very briefly as like some Russian guy, and he's a delight there too. I don't know, he's good at that. I have no idea why. Mark's great as Slava. I found Slava's whole arc so endearing. This poor man just wants to see this happen before he drops dead. And
he also cares about the people being inside the fucking rocket.
Yeah, he actually views them as people, not just kind of like expendable doodads to get shot in his face for political points. Which is nice. They're in short supply here.
Which I love that's sort of a subplot in the whole thing where, like, only a few people on staff actually treat the test subjects like people. Or, a dog.
Dogs.
It's in short supply. Yeah, he's just great. He's very warm and he's very friendly, and you like him, and you really want him to get to see this stupid rocket go to space, so you can at least pass away having succeeded. That'd be nice. What else? Lieutenant Victor, the most 50s man alive, Russian version. He's just fun. It's just like, yeah, I shot you in the face in a Fallout game, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, you're that guy. You're that guy. He's good at that.
Could you imagine if Todd Howard was ever into shooting rockets into space?
Look,
do you think they would clip through the launch pad?
I don't know. I feel like Todd Howard seems like the kind of guy. It's like, do you want to build a rocket, Mr. Howard? Not really. No. What do you want to do?
You remember Skyrim on the mission control computer?
No, I'm saying it's like, you remember Liberty Prime? Can we make that? The square cube rule, sir. Damn it! I always forget about the square cube rule.
Right, he's making that space game now, though, right? Star City.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That is.
They are making Skyrim in space. So we're gonna find out what happens.
Can you play Skyrim in space?
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Skyrim
I'm
on
sorry,
the moon.
I'm now...
He's gonna port Skyrim to everything if he gets his way.
Hello, this is your bidet. Would you like me to start playing Skyrim?
Oh dear.
It's like playing. What was it? What's that one game they keep putting onto like really weird shit to play it?
Doom. It's Doom.
Yeah, you could absolutely play Doom on the space computer. The operations link. That thing's a potato. It'll run Doom.
Anything can run Doom if you try hard enough.
Didn't they make a pregnancy test run Doom?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the great. No, see, that's the great part. Originally, it was a fake video, but then someone actually got a pregnancy test to run Doom.
That's even better.
Congrats! It's Doom.
It's Doom.
Congrats, you're Doom.
BFG.
What?
What's the baby's gender? Doomslayer.
Congrats, it's Slavjank. Sorry to distract you, Amon.
That's fine. Where was I? Yeah, Marcus is great. Good, authoritative. Like him a lot. Let me see. Morgan's just a lot of fun. Ludmilla is... I mean, she you can tell, I think, even from her introduction, that she knows a lot more than she lets on, and that becomes increasingly true as more of the story plays out. She's clearly just having a blast playing this character who actually has all the cards. And is perfectly happy to lord you over that if necessary. She doesn't mind.
While she eats a
likes
candy.
her job. Exactly. She's fun. Bill, I liked him a lot as Fyodor, who very much comes across as like the dude you want running your country, where he is like less vicious and more pragmatic than the people around him.
He's very electable.
Extremely electable, yes.
But it does make him out to seem like kind of a sniveling turd. He isn't, but he definitely seems that way because he's willing to do the political double talk.
Exactly. He knows he can be Mr. Figurehead and look like an idiot even if he's not. Ooh. I liked his big rousing speech at the end. It was very nice. What else? Mikhail's taking this very seriously. He probably needs to take it a little less seriously. Jonah's a lot of fun as him for that reason. Also, I think I don't know who brought up that he has a stick. He's too much of a grouch to be the first astronaut in space, and I think that's true. He looks like as much of a grouch as it is. And have you ever looked up a picture of Yuri Gagarin?
No. Isn't he based... No,
just today, yeah. He's all
Mikhail's
smiles.
based on the other guy.
No, but I'm saying if you look at a picture of Yuri, like, that guy could have been on the cover of Teen Beat. Like, he's extremely marketable looking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah! He does. Holy
Mikhail
shit.
could not have been Yuri
like Jimmy, look at this. Yep. Exactly. No, just like... of course he was the first guy whose face is Jimmy Olsen-looking motherfucker. Absolutely. I would have checked him, too.
at this guy. His suit is too
This
big
man-
for him.
This man was serving the country in the USSR.
That's our first cosmonaut.
Yep.
The seas. Do you think he was making girls sploosh like the Beatles?
Absolutely. Do you know what happened after he went to space?
No.
He got mad puss.
Yeah, and he was also he got to enjoy it because he was permanently grounded because he was too valuable to accidentally kill shooting him into space again. Like 1,000%.
So he's like a horse that wins the Kentucky Derby. He's just going out to stud.
Too politically valuable to accidentally die in one of these rickety ass rockets the Soviet Union had. Like, it's great.
And he had a good 7 years of just doing whatever the fuck he wanted until he died.
Yep, under mysterious circumstances, which, from what I read, probably weren't mysterious. It's probably just someone fucked up in an embarrassing way and no one wanted to admit it.
Or it was like space radiation.
No, he died in a jet crash.
Ah, okay.
He was out. He gotten authorized to fly jets again, and was out on maneuvers with somebody and died. And the best guess that people, because the Soviet Union did not really want to explain what had happened, the best guess that's seen is that someone probably gave them bad weather information and they died by accident, and that is way too embarrassing a thing for the Soviet Union to admit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, wait, I'm sorry. You told them the weather is clear. You got a national hero killed. Oh, you were.
You take that secret to your grave.
In the words of Centaur World, we take this to the grave.
1,000%.
You take that to the grave, or they're taking you to Siberia.
The random polar bear that lives out in Siberia, seeing all these new people come and going, yo, go get Steve, there's another fucking one.
What the fuck?
Anyways,
This is an all-you-can-eat buffet here. Why would we ever leave?
Do you guys remember the time that the bear, like, I think this was also in Russia, where, like, I'm sorry to get this off track, and it also involves things falling out of a plane and bears.
Mm-hmm.
Where a bunch of gasoline fell out of, like, gasoline barrels, like, fell out or something, and the bears got really fucking high on gasoline in Russia.
Oh. Guys, come on.
And again, put up a strong front. We did that on purpose. We got the bears high on purpose. Don't question it.
Fuck you, we're gonna make our own cocaine bear with hookers and blackjack.
Yeah, that's one thing the show captures well, I think, is just the put up a strong front, lie, subterfuge. Nothing's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Everything is okie dokie.
It's all borscht, no cheeseburgers.
My cat has just decided to knock my Udapri plushie off of its little, like, shelf as a show. I don't know, as either a show that she's annoyed that she's in here and I won't let her out because we're recording, or she wishes to assert her dominance over Aoi Shota.
Probably that second one.
Good luck, buddy.
Is Aoi Shota a bottom?
You're not the first, you won't be the last.
Do you mean Aoi Shota's character in Udapri, or Aoi
No.
Shota himself? Because I don't think I can answer that.
The latter.
I don't think I'm legally allowed to answer that, and neither are you.
I don't want to be silenced by the Fujoshi KGB, so I'll shut up now.
Come on, please continue.
Sure. Yes, Jonah's he's big grump, and he's really funny. Very entertaining. And Kimmy, I think, really it does a good job as Rosa, whose grouchiness feels a lot more understandable. And I thought she did a good job with the character as somebody who, like, probably needs this for herself a lot more than Mikhail needs it for himself. But also kind of understands why things are going the way they are. It was a good performance. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of you guys. Let me knock out some people super quick. I realized, like, okay, so our cast list got moved down because Jackson posted a picture of Yuri Goskin. I'm gonna fuck his last name for all time. Yuri the space pimp. Yuri the space pimp. So I forgot I had posted, before Amon got here, I was posting some out-of-context Final Fantasy XIV screenshots, including one of Andrew's strike zones, and one of the greatest out-of-context lines, which is, "Got business with me, Catboy?" So I have to scroll back up for the cast list. So I actually really like AJ Beckles in this. I really like him playing kind of more of these soft-spoken, more moody characters. I hope I get to see him do that again. I know he's playing Matt in the new Digimon anime, the new Digimon Adventure dub. And as we all know, Matt Ishida was a lot of little girls and little boys' first anime moody bad boy that they could fix. So looking forward to that. I actually didn't know who plays Sagovich until I literally looked at my DVDs. Because he was not credited on ANN, but thanks to me and JR Pictures, we put him up there. I think he plays him as over the top as, like, the character looks and is. Because this is a man who literally looks like more of a vampire than Irina. Runs around with a cross and garlic on, and at one point whips her, just to prove that he's a giant vampire racist, which is going to be really funny in about 3 minutes. Caitlin Glass does a really great kind of soothing mom voice as Natalia. It sounds a little bit more mature than her Winry voice. But also, I genuinely like the part where, she takes the guy in for crashing the car.
Right.
Trying to kill Irina.
Yeah.
And she's just like, you idiot, you weren't supposed to kill her yet. And just the no mercy shooting that she does with that guy. Christopher Bevins, I was just really happy to hear him do a weird, wacky little voice in this show. And I thought he was going to be more important, but he wasn't. But I remember him being the guy who was the most distraught about the dog dying.
Mm-hmm.
Which, boy howdy, when we talk about Irina, we're going to talk about, that fucking nightmare scene. Mark as Slava's probably my favorite character that isn't the main three. I love Slava. I love him as this kind of, like, business, like, he's definitely more business, but he's definitely the friendliest person who works with them. And it's very clear he's the guy he's got the guy of, like, the old dude super passionate about his thing, passing his hobby down to his next generation kind of voice. It's always just fun that Mark Stoddard's in things. Marcus Dinnick as Lieutenant Victor, I think does a good job of being kind of that authoritarian part. I really love when he gets to kind of let down his walls and be like, Lev, I am so fucking proud of you. Like, where it's like, an idiot is what I would call you if I wasn't so damn proud, boy. Like, I really love that aspect about him. Jonah Scott as Mikhail is interesting because I don't think a lot of people really know Jonah for playing kind of these more stick-up-his-ass type characters. I think a lot more people are used to his, like, Legoshi, who is a lot more weird and, like, kind of wild and quiet, but has these moments of freakouts. I also really love the scene in the penultimate episode where they're about to go, where Lev is about to do his launch, and they stop because Lev has to pee. Mm-hmm. And then the show gives the most lovely rendered piss shot you've ever seen outside of prison school.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think you can make that claim.
I said outside of prison school. No one's gonna ever animate pee better than prison school. And he's just like, man, you know, even still now, I wish you were about to fucking die so I could go in that rocket. And, like, he finally has this moment with him, and he's genuine. But, man, could you have waited for him to at least wipe his hands before you handshook him? The guy was letting it loose. That's just a party foul.
I'm mostly impressed that they were able to, like, put that in the spacesuit. So he didn't have to take off the whole thing just to take
Yeah, right? God show. Where's the part where Lev pisses in his own suit?
He would have had
I got
adult
a little
diapers
back for that.
Yeah. Astronauts wear adult diapers. We're all adults here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kimmy does a really good job playing Rosa. I do think that out of this group, for the characters to kind of stay around longer, I do agree that she's a bit on the weaker side just because of Rosa's character. It's kind of hard sometimes to go from being that genuinely cold to having genuine moments of warmth and connection. And she is a very good foil to Irina, but I think Irina's actress got that down better between the two sides of her. but I still genuinely enjoy the performance, and I'm not super familiar with Kimmy Britt, so I was impressed. But let's talk about Ludmila and Gergiev. Bill Jenkins is Gergiev. I'm not used to Bill Jenkins being, the straw hat that never was. In the narrator, so I'm not super used to his voice. I'm used to him as being Manfred von Karma. To which, remember, Almost Christmas means it wasn't Christmas. And I think he played him with enough of that, old man voice, but still being kind of slimy and smarmy. And I liked whenever he got frustrated. But my god, does he get the pinnacle of the worst person you know has made a point.
He has a speech prepared for any occasion.
And that speech being, whoa, you see, we have sent both human and vampire into space. We the Russians stand in our superior because we don't discriminate against people. And we let all sides have their dreams, and anybody who does it fucking sucks. As we cut to shots of the American vampires and Dampiers living in, fucking segregated slums.
The American president just slams on his desk like Kiryu from Yakuza's like, damn it. We got beaten, put to the punch, and now we look bad for being bigots.
But damn it, nothing bad's ever supposed to happen to the Kennedys.
Ha ha ha! Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. Wah!
And he absolutely would have read the other speech where condoning the actions of the delivery crew and the anti-vampire faction if it went the other way.
Yes.
Yeah, there's an essay you can find online about a It was about a kid in a black family whose family moved to the Soviet Union in the 60s, I think, because they were very happy to bring up American racism. And it was weird. It was weird. Made me think of that.
Yeah, and then, obviously, we have Ludmila, who is... What an absolute stinker. I love Morgan's performance of her. She's sultry. She's super sarcastic. She sees a lot of this as just a bunch of, I think, in a sense, a bunch of dumb men playing with their toys. And she's just like, whatever, I'm just gonna get this revolution business started so that we can try to, control the minds of our people and not let them think America's cooler than us because they shot a fucking monkey into space.
Just because we didn't have jazz music.
Yeah, just because we... Yeah, right? But, I always really like how, she is just so fucking cold about everything. When she asks Lev and Mikhail about why they want to go in, what they think makes a hero. And Mikhail is kind of the straight answer, and Lev's like, well, I want to make everybody happy because I'm Lev, and I'm a nice person, and blah, 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 blah. And she's just like, oh, the person needs to go is a revolutionary who doesn't stay in the path and needs to move us forward. But what do I fucking know? I think this is stupid. And she kind of eats her candy and walks off. She's great, and I love Morgan's performance of her. I think that Ludmila is the one performance, we were talking about, how accents would be super distracting. She's the one that I'm thinking would be the most distracting if she had done an accent. Just because of the way of her personality playing out. I also just love how she's just she literally has the vibe of the I'm just here for my paycheck to her voice. Not Morgan's performance, but the character herself is like, So having tried the idea of using these two young, optimistic people as pawns to keep everybody on our side? And speaking of young, are we all good with this section?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've said our piece.
Yeah, and speaking of young optimists, we have Anya, Simonyan, Irina Limnask, and Lev Leps. Anya is the head kind of researcher who's in charge of taking care of Irina's physical health and stuff. She also just becomes Irina's best friend and is a genuinely nice person and a sweet girl and the biggest shipper on deck. Unfortunately, she is the cause of almost all of the weird kind of anime humor that's in this show. Because, you know, the last thing this show needed was weird scenes of her getting, like, really excited about how big Irina's boobs were.
Yeah. You say vampire expert, I say vampire otaku.
Yeah. Potato.
Gotta get the weebs interested somehow.
Pink hair and twin tails.
Yeah. I'd also like to point her out for just absolutely fucking wrecking a dude in episode 12. Just, like, linebacker, University of Moscow.
Oh, the projectile headbutt.
Yeah. Then we have Irina Luminesque, the titular Vampire Cosmonaut. She is a 17-year-old girl who lied about being 21, as per usual, to sneak into the military in any form of fiction. Who comes from a deep mountain commune that you find out that she volunteered herself because she has always wanted to go to space and the moon before humans could quote-unquote defile it. And she learns that over time that humanity is not as bad as it is because of Lev's kindness, even though she kind of has every right to hate humanity after they came in and fucking blowtorched her entire village and family. And, it was a kind of uncomfortable scene because if you kind of look at their outfits, they look very indigenous and or Ukrainian.
Oh, they came across as very, I mean, the Romani was the one that sprung to mind, but I feel like there's a number of oppressed Eastern European groups they probably fit right in with, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just imagine one of those inhabiting a dark, dreary castle.
Yeah.
And you have that scene.
Yep.
And then we have Lev Leps, who is essentially, like, the nicest singular human being that has ever existed in not Russia. He is a sweet-natured guy who has a history of having a short temper because, you know, he punches out people who are racist assholes. And I don't see why that's a problem, but apparently that is a problem in not Russia. Lev becomes the teacher to Irina and eventually a cosmonaut himself, obviously being the stand-in for Yuri Gurgin. I got it right. And he also slowly, like Irina falls for him, he slowly falls for Irina. And insert that gif of Jim Rash from Community here.
I hope this doesn't awake anything in me.
Yes. Playing Anya is Jade Saxton, who you know as characters such as Ximena Coronado in Gara the Animation, Jeanne d'Arc in Rage of Bahamut Genesis, and because this is quite literally the best name for a character that she's ever played, the lethal hamster in Africa Salaryman.
Hit.
Tia Ballard plays characters such as Aligula in Blood Blockade Battlefront, Kagura Soma in the Fruits Basket 2019 reboot, and Itsuki Nakano in the Quintessential Quintuplets. And Lev Leps is played by Stephen Fu, who plays characters such as Noe Archivist in The Case Study of Vanitas, Auntie in SSS Gridman, and Theo Himazuka in Midnight Occult Civil Servants. How do you guys feel about these three characters?
So, yeah, there had to be some means of the, sort of the light novel anime adaptation bullshit, and that ended up being in the form of Anya. The cute mannerisms, it's a little distracting, but honestly, the show kind of needed a little bit of brevity. Not the way I would have done it, but honestly, probably not Jade's fault that it's there. Otherwise, the performance is really good. I guess the meat of this is Tia Ballard as Irina. Basically, the namesake of the show. Let's see here. Also, kind of an archetype tsundere. Like, she is very cold toward Lev and the rest of the crew at first and slowly warms up to everybody. As you would expect from a typical tsundere. But there are little moments as she's doing that are really nice. Like the whole lemon seltzer thing. And the scene where she gets drunk. She only has like a sip of alcohol and she's out. That was also good. Also, really good mix work with Irina. Because you have scenes of her both with the spaceman helmet on and also projecting a message back down to the motherland, which does actually, for the most part, sound like it came out of a 1950s era radio. It's nice. I like it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how you're talking about that, the whole, like, it sounds like it's coming out of, like, a bad mic from, like, that age.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And it's probably because this video lives rent-free in my head. The only thing that popped up into my head was, you have Uno! I don't have Uno, you fucking lizard! Because if you've never seen that video between, that Alex Lee and Sean Chiplock made, it sounds like they're on shitty Xbox mics.
Yeah. I mean,
I have the oldest N-box known to man.
I mean, this is less shitty Xbox mic and more like shitty, 1950s ham radio that's got to transmit back down to the surface of the Earth from like 100,000 feet up.
Yeah, the priority is range, not fidelity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Stephen Fu as Lev is a good boy. Like, there's... As much as he's in the show, like, there's not much more to his character than that. He's just a good boy. I particularly like the flashback where he punches the guy out because he was making fun of the fact that the dog died.
Which you should.
And that was basically the whole reason for his demotion and basically getting sent to train Irina. But it's just like Stephen Fu is just like the adorable little cinnamon roll is Lev. Like he's too pure and innocent for this world. Definitely too pure and innocent to die 6 years after going into space in some aviation fuck-up, but hey.
I'd like to point out that in the light novels, he does not die that early.
I see.
What do you mean that early? Don't answer that. I don't want to. Let me live ignorant.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that I don't think he meets the same fate as his real-life counterpart, if you know what I mean.
But yeah, like, the three of these actors did a really good job with what they were given. I know one of them was kind of given stuff that I would not have written as such, but hey, you gotta get the otaku crowd in there somehow.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about Jade Saxon's character, besides the fact that it's all the anime bullshit concentrated into one character. Pink hair, twin tails. Just a little bit cringe, but this is nothing new for Jade and her like range and catalog of characters. So I think she was well suited for the task, if nothing else. And yeah, she does. As Irina's friend and confidant, she's able to really get in and be warm and friendly and concerned for Irina through all of her struggles. Go to bat for her. Not betray her country, but defies the men in black for her. Yeah. So,
she was 100% ready to fucking.
She just has chloroform on her, ready to drop kick some goons.
As you do.
Yeah. Ultimately, a fun character. Yeah. Lev, Stephen Fu, very good boy. Stephen Fu's kind of an actor that's hard for me to place. I think I'm becoming more familiar with him now, with some of his video game work, and the roles that I can draw from memory are very much this type of character. Just very hello, ma'am, and very much not your daughter calls me daddy too. he's a real nice lad. I did like those scenes where they're warming up to each other. Like, they definitely know from how Lev is that he's very predictable. It's like we can use this guy. If we set these two up in the same room, this is exactly what'll happen to get to our end game goal. It's like he earns respect from Slava for showing respect back to his work. He's treats the people around him like people, including the dogs and this vampire chick. Just honest to a fault. And everyone can kind of tell. I do like that the rapport that they slowly develop. Like by the time Irina's going up in that first rocket, like they're already sending each other secret codes, slipping them past the Russian spies, or doing it right in front of the Russian spies. Just to explain that quickly. Irina needs to speak in code so that the Americans can't tell what space stuff is going on. And she adds on another message that's just for Lev. So there's this borscht recipe that she's supposed to read out, and then she reads out this drink to pair with it. That wasn't in the script, but it connects back to Lev and Irina hanging out at the jazz bar. It's very nice progression of the romance and relationship. Irina's like T. Ballard's great fucking actor. Starts out well with the like just cold, closed off attitude, and just a couple like biting remarks slipped in here. It's like, people hate vampires, and this is why. Like, or you never want to try to learn about our people, whatever. You see us as a cursed species, and just. That slowly starts to twist. Like, really, by like the end of episode 2, when they go for that lemon seltzer drink, it kind of flips it. She's able to flip a switch and bring down that shield for a moment, where she's just a normal teenage girl that's getting surprised and excited by a lemon seltzer. She's got that fear of heights going on early on that just screaming her head off as she's jumping off towers for parachute practice. And and it's just slowly warming up. We get towards the end of the series, and they're very much caring for each other and in each other's corner. It gets real romantic in a lot of scenes, especially on that lake. If I got laid, I would want fireworks to go off for me, like it does for these two. Just some of the how that scene is animated is quite dreamlike. It's real nice. Don't know if I have too much more to say, but yeah, great performances all around on our leads.
Awesome. Amon?
Let's see. As you mentioned, Anya's very much the anime bullshit character. Jade does a good job with her, though. Like, she turns into the correct performance for that character, even if this is maybe not a character that needed to be in the story the way she's written. But, whatever. Jade does a great job. And I don't know how much more I have to add to what we were talking about with Tia and Steven. They're both very good. Tia just gets a lot of she does a good job of handling the complexity of the character, where she's both very... She's like very, very driven and very angry, but also like, you feel like she's very alone, and she doesn't necessarily like that, even if she kind of is accepted that as just the thing she might have to deal with. And it's very touching watching her and Lev like just form a relationship and get closer to one another. It's nice, especially with Lev, not to the same extent, but also kind of being a lot of step with his peers, what with sort of, he's ready to throw down, and that's a big no-no for reasons. I don't know, they're very charming together. It's, their relationship is a lot at the core of the show, and I think they do a great job of just handling that and making it feel like solid and well put together and earned, and it's made for a good show. Liked it a lot. Thumbs up.
Yeah, no, I actually really like Jade's performance, even though her character does have kind of like the most like annoying anime bullshit joke moments of all time. And I want to compliment the show for not making, for taking a character who, in a sense, like, it's always kind of interesting to see the way that initial biases of people who are othered are handled. Because, in a sense, both Lev and, Anya, who are the two nicest people, I think, to Irina, start from a place that isn't genuinely nice. Even though they're kind to her, they have a bunch of misconceptions. And in Lev's case, he kind of ditches them, I think, a little bit quicker than Anya, who does still see her, I think, as a toy up until she comes back from space. And then I want to compliment the show itself having a very natural friendship form between the two of them. They don't kind of become, like, pitted against each other for Lev's attention. They have a genuine female-to-female character friendship that blossoms out of their own willingness to get to know the other one. And I really like when they go out on the lake to say their wishes, and Anya kind of has a much more childish view, and she's like, oh, come on, you really didn't wish for, like, our nation to be prosperous and stuff. And I think towards the finale, where she's the one who is genuinely just trying to take care of her, and you see how scared she is in Jade's trembling voice of when, I think it's in episode 11 or 10, where she goes to get her ice cream, and Irina gets away to go run to Lev in the capital, and they get stopped, and the guy destroys their ice cream and yells at her, and she's like, I'm so sorry, like, that was just so good. And then, of course, Anya's headbutt of victory. The goodest shit in the world. Stephen Fu as Lev. I was actually really surprised that Stephen Fu was cast as Lev. He wasn't the actor I genuinely was thinking of, and I've watched a lot more stuff with Stephen Fu in it, because I genuinely like him a lot as an actor. I think he does great in the case of Devani Chas, if you haven't seen that yet, and I really liked him here as the much more kind and gentler Lev. It was a little bit like Noe, but a bit more grounded in reality. I like how honest and genuine when he starts to speak about how much he cares for Irina and how Irina sees the world. It's so good. And just the part where he's up in space and he's using her words and how much it obviously kind of causes like this moment of tension between them, because Irina feels like he is stealing from her and he's feeling like he's doing it out of just a genuine honor for her. Comes across so well, and I genuinely love Steven's performance. And again, I would love to see Steven get to kind of do more performances like this. But let's talk about the real star of the show, and that's Tia Ballard as Irina. Irina's gambit of life is really what I think is the highlights of this show. And Tia's performance is the one that I was hinting at earlier, where in the English version, her voice is a lot lower than it is in the Japanese. And I think having her have a lower voice, and then when she gets frustrated, kind of going into the more stereotypical, like, higher anime girl voice is what works better, because I feel that's more intrinsic to her character than being a stock standard tsundere that a lot of people really know about. Because Irina's attitude comes from a place of genuine trauma. And I want to highlight how fucking hard this show goes with her fucking PTSD nightmares. You have the ones where she's imagining where her hometown and her family is burnt alive as she's told to hide and has to watch. But the dog nightmare. The dog nightmare scene.
Yeah. She's spent the whole show being compared to a dog, yeah. And she's the first humanoid to go up after a live human being. Yeah.
Patrick!
The Laika and the other dogs have come back. or not come back.
Patrick, did you really have to use wolf?
I both intended and did not intend that pun.
So anyway, let's just go with this. You would think that the Zenitria space program was run by Dio Brando with how many dogs it's killed. And you get this kind of one scene, I think towards the end of episode 5, where another thing comes down and it explodes, and Irina is forced to see the burning corpse of a dog. And she has been put into a dog muzzle and chain before because a lot of the rest of the people don't see her as human. And she has this horrifying nightmare of her, I think, being on the moon and seeing all of the statues dedicated to the other dead dogs. And then there's this flash of all of their, like, anatomically correct skulls layered over it as she turns to stone and disintegrates. And it literally fucks her up so bad that she starts, like, not eating and taking care of herself, which leads to the I just had sex moment of any vampire show, where somebody gets bitten and there are fireworks. And did I ever mention that the composer of the show was the guy who did Chrono Cross, and the music of the show is immaculate?
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Those insert songs on those dream sequences are quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who did, I think, a lot of the, is it not Chrono Cross? What's the one that everybody likes that has the
Chrono
time
Trigger?
mechanic? Thank you! Yeah, Chrono Trigger, Xenoblade Chronicles, the composer of that worked on this. But Tia's performance, again, I really like because they decided to go with a more deep performance, and to give a connection of another time I've seen this and they really like it, and because it's me, Beth Ann Walker's performance in Final Fantasy XIV as Alize, who is a character very similar to Irina, where in the Japanese she is played as, her actress plays her a lot more high-pitched and, like, stereotypical tsundere voice, where in English she's played with a lower and more tomboy voice. But I also like, one of the things I also want to comment is on, even though we all know that ADR voice actors do not perform in the same booth at the same time, I really do want to compliment Steven and Tia's chemistry in their voices. One of the biggest compliments I have for Irina the Vampire Cosmonaut is that it has a more it has a more naturally budding romance than some romance anime. Like,
it's a slow burn, but it progresses from point A to point B very naturally, and you do get there at the end of it.
And they do have obvious communication issues and such, but you can tell that it's a love not based on the fact that, hello, I am a man that exists in this space. I am a woman that exists in this space. We should bone. It's, hi, I am a person who has one passion, and you have one passion, therefore we meet and come together. And Tia and Steven's chemistry works very well between their voices, and I really want to compliment Chris George as a director in casting for casting these two, because I think their voice types complement each other very well. So let's move into final thoughts. What are your guys' final thoughts on the dub and the show as a whole?
So it's definitely an interesting experiment here. I did not expect a space race era Soviet historical fiction drama. I'm definitely impressed with what I got. The dub is definitely solid and presentable. At some point I will likely have to turn around, check out the Japanese version. But for now, it is definitely something I would recommend to people, so definite thumbs up.
Yeah, I've got lots of good things to say about the dub. And yeah, this one's kind of stuck around in the back of my head for the last year or so as a show. Just some of the things that about the way this anime is constructed, I really like. I think it's limited in its scope of what it's able to do, but it's actually pretty ambitious with what it's trying to do as far as like animation, storyboarding stuff, and story on top of that. Like, it's going for things like rotation shots or I'm in my everything is shit phase, but also I'm easy to please. It's a weird thing. Like, there's a lot of interesting like symbolism and kind of like poetic lines going on. Like, we mentioned the scene on the lake with the pine cones. The lake's frozen over, so you can't actually throw the pine cones in. And our wish will come true when the spring comes. That's a great line that gets that we have in this script. Just and there's all these kind of things throughout. Leica being compared to, or Nosferatu, the vampire being compared to the dog, and just that imagery coming back up as a way to haunt Lycoris. Lycoris, this death flower that I'm learning the name of for the first time this year. And that just, the spider lilies, the Japanese spider lilies, that one just keeps coming up. We've got the vampire sex stuff. That, like it's real genuine how, and romantic how Lev is just like, I want her to bite my neck. How do I broach this subject naturally? Before getting cock-blocked by a bus to steal Megan's words there.
Yep. Fuck you, show.
That's real fun. And, you know, the vampire stuff being kind of taboo and forbidden as it naturally is. Because Irina only got taught abstinence only. Like, you can do it once when you're on this goat and then never again. Just all this stuff there. Like, yeah, this team, and I think this animation studio is like, this is their first like main thing that they got to do.
I think it's actually their second behind We Never Learn. And they haven't done anything since. Yeah,
it was either that or the a director that only had done this before. But had otherwise been like an industry veteran. Like I found one of his Japan Anime Expo entries. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, like ambitious but limited scope, small team that hopefully get to do like more in the future because this shows a lot of promise in what they're able to do. So I think that's my piece on Irina the Cosmonaut.
Amon?
Yeah, this is a really good show. I think it's really interesting. I think it is an interesting. It is a thing where it has the setting. It's alternate history. There's vampires. I think it kind of provides sort of some entry points that make it kind of easy to get into, even though it is mostly a fairly, I don't want to say dry, but fairly grounded like drama about like interpersonal relationships and how like countries treat their people and so on. And I think this dub is like really well put together and really suits it. If I have one complaint, it's that I think the localized title implies a very different show. I certainly know going into this that if I'm watching something called Cosmonaut Vampire, I'm expecting something either very baroque and ridiculous or a hot slice of 1950s cheese, neither of which this show is.
Something more like Rocket Man, maybe?
Like something. I was imagining something very grandiose and over the top, or something that is along the lines of like that.
Much more grounded.
No, like that Project SOS Blue Earth show where it's like, oh, this is a 50s pulp novel, but in anime.
Oh man, what I wouldn't give for something like that.
Like, and I'm sure part of this is that I've been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid lately, so like there's a very certain style of like, yes, weird alt history in mid 20th century world, and which isn't what this show is going for, and it's not really its fault. But there's a very tiny part of me that's a little disappointed that it's not a lot.
Yeah, like the original title is a bit more light novelty. And a little drier.
Like,
it's the Moon, Leica, and Nosferatu is what translates to.
Yeah, or the Moon, Leica, and the Blood-Sucking Princess.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm also thinking of Robert Heinlein, I think, wrote a book that's literally about like vampires from space or something like that kind of thing. But that's not the show's fault. I think the show is quite good on its own. That's strictly a personal gripe. That's something I'm holding against it. It's a very good, very well done show. It's very well done dub. I liked it a lot.
I'm not gonna lie that every time someone says Nosferatu, or has said Nosferatu tonight, I've just imagined the fucking episode of SpongeBob. But who's been flicking the lights?
Nosferatu!
Nosferatu! Yeah, I will not lie that I have been trying to get this episode off the ground for several months.
I feel like
like this show.
I watched it on my own on your recommendation, basically.
Yeah, I find I have, like, a really weird coincidence of, like, hey, this is a show that, like, a lot of people seem to be passing over. I think some of you would like it. And then, like, I come back with letters like, yeah, I really like this show, Megan. I was a big proprietor of the show. I love it a lot outside of its ending. Like, the ending is very much the worst person you know has made a great point, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. Also, B, that you never get to see them actually lock lips. That's such fucking bullshit! Stupid fucking boss.
It's very much the ending that story needed to conclude on, even if it's probably not what you actually want.
Yeah, and it did actually set up a season 2, because I think this only covers the first 2 light novels out of 7?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a third one? Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, no, this is... if it's a third one, it's the very beginning of the third novel, because we actually do see, in the finale shot, the characters that will make up the third novel, it being the blonde kid that kind of looks like a rejected version of America from Italia, and the white-haired girl.
I see. Yeah, like the story's kind of structured in 2 halves of Irina's spaceflight and Lev's spaceflight.
Yeah. And I do like the ending where it shows, like, everybody on the International Space Station working together, obviously showing where space travel goes from here. And only here, and not into a guy who, blew up his own rocket on 420 for the lulz. And somehow that wasn't even the dumbest thing he did that day. But I really like the dub for this. I really like the show. I don't know if it's the best dub I've seen Chris George put out, but I think it's a really good time and a really good version to watch. If you'd like to watch Irina the Vampire Cosmonaut, you can do so on Crunchyroll, and I believe it's on Funimation as well, as Funimation, the website, is still not dead. That's... Where else are they going to put One Piece's dub? But if you would like to own it, you can purchase it from your fine anime retailers. And if you'd like to purchase the original light novels, they are available from 7 Seas. I believe they are up to Volume 4, with 5 coming out soon. Volume 5 is going to come out in July. Volume 5 comes out on July 4th. Ironic.
Freedom, motherfucker.
Celebrate Mother Russia.
Celebrate America by reading about Mother Russia. And that is being put out by 7 Seas under their Airship sub-license. I believe they moved it over to there. But if you'd like to follow us, you can follow us at Dub Talk on the Twitters, the Tumblrs, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, the Pod. You can listen to us on Apple Podcast and what's our other one? Podbeans?
Yeah.
Yep, Pod.
Yes.
And Podbean. If you like us and what we do, you can offer us a one-time donation at the Ko-fi link below, or if you'd like to support us on the regular, every month, you do have a Patreon, and our Patreons that we are going to shout out, my parents, Michelle Travis, Julia W., and Victor Mayborda. And we also have some $10 Patreons, which are Anthony Brown, Carly Lesticow, Jacob Wilson, Jared Hawkins, Marissa Lenti, and Otaku Anthony. Gentlemen, would you like to plug yourselves?
Sure. I'm Patrick, aka Roots of Justice. You can find me on the twitter.com at Roots of Justice, where I mainly retweet cute animal pics, talk general fandom stuff. You should drop by, have a good time. So my blog is not dead anymore. A couple reviews went up on it, and more will be coming. So that's a thing. Roots of Justice Anime Time blog show. .wordpress.com. Oh, yeah. Hey, so every time I'm on one of these things, I try to do a Patrick's Cool Thing of the Day, and hey, look at this. I've got a cool thing that I want to talk about today. Today's Patrick's Cool Thing of the Day is the directorial works of one David Lowery. For some inexplicable reason, Disney keeps giving massive amounts of money to go fuck off in the Canadian woods, and he comes back with Kino. His live-action remake
Perhaps he, I'm gonna make a smart-ass comment. You actually continue.
He actually did a pretty competent remake of Pete's Dragon. His recent remake of Peter Pan and Wendy, is actually pretty okay. But mainly it's because I watched The Green Knight over the weekend, and holy fucking shit. The Green Knight is just one of the most scrumptiously shot things I have seen in a very long time.
Ain't it grand?
It is. Anyway, you had like a...
Oh, my smartest comment was, do you think he hypnotizes them with his mustache?
He probably does.
Everybody gets a ride.
You ever seen a picture of David Lowery?
I have IMDb up, bro. Oh, shit, man.
If you're not looking at him, he looks like one of those like boxers from the 20s with a giant mustache, but none of the muscles. It's an interesting look. It's not a bad look, it's just an interesting look. No, he looks great. That's the weird thing. I feel like I should be making fun of him, but I don't. I have no desire to. He looks fine.
But yeah, Patrick's Cool Thing of the Day, the directorial works of David Lowery.
Thank you, Patrick. Jackson.
Yeah. I'm Jackson on Twitter at 9clawtiger. We'll see if we get to stay on Twitter for how long. I stream for the podcast, and that's really my public-facing stuff that I do. I just finished Fire Emblem Echoes, so I am finally free of that 6-month project.
Woohoo!
And just streaming whatever I feel like right now. Hey, if you want to, if you're on a alt history Soviet Union bend, you could go watch my Red Alert 2 streams. They're up on our YouTube VOD channel for our Twitch streams. That's Dub Talk Gaming. That's it for me. If you follow me on Twitter, you are going to get VTubers recommended to you. I'm sorry.
And finally,
I'm Amon. You can find me on Twitter at AmonDuelUS, where I tweet about miscellaneous bullshit, comic books, movies, and music. But before I talk about that part, I am also attempting to revive my infrequently used blog, which is you can find at worldthat'scoming.blogspot.com. I might actually post something there. Who knows? It might be up by the time this episode goes up. Who can say?
Oh, hey!
So check that out. I need to watch a 20-minute short and write about it, and then I can post some things. It'll be great. But until then, I'll tide you over the dusty old song. Now, obviously, there are a lot of songs about space. That's not hard to find. People love writing about space. There are fewer songs about the space program, though. Or at least a specific one that isn't just like David Bowie doing the Wichita lineman thing, but, among the stars. Because it turns out being in space kind of sucks. But there's one I actually know of that I like that's kind of about that. My dusty old song for you is the song for Michael Collins, Jeffrey, and Me by Jethro Tull, which is both about space and also has a lot of it has a lot about who gets to be remembered for things. For example, who here knows who Michael Collins is?
I've heard the name, but I don't recall.
Well, you see, if you're going to the moon, you have the little lunar lander thing that goes down to take the guys down to the moon. But if you have that, which is coming out of the shuttle, someone has to stay on the shuttle to make sure that it stays in orbit while the other guys are down on the planet. And
he's the guy
Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, they're orbiting the moon, and they draw straws to see who gets to be the poor bastard who gets to be stuck on the landing, and Michael Collins drew the short straw.
He's the guy stuck watching from the window.
And that's why no one knows who the fuck he is. Sorry, Michael. You were very important, but you got the unsexy job. It happens.
That is one of the morals of today's episode.
So yeah, I like that song quite a bit. Also, there's a little bit of going to space is kind of overrated attitude to it, which I feel like what's her name? I feel like Lidmilla would appreciate. So check that out, and then check out the rest of Benefit. It's a good album.
I'm Megan. You can follow me at Queener2 on Twitter, where I shitpost on the regular, and also, just like talk about Final Fantasy XIV a lot. because I like to play Final Fantasy XIV, and I would say I would make jokes about what part of the game I'm in, but they're actually really big spoilers, so I'm not going to. But yeah. So guys, thank you so much for joining me for this trip into space, comrades. I hope you all had a good time.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and come back down now. Sure, there's no capitalism up in space, but it's kind of cold and boring. I'm gonna go back to my I'm gonna go back and consume some video games and anime.
At least I have job.
I think I'm gonna come down because I think I just saw George Clooney floating by.
Oh shit.
Oh no, not again.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just go in there. Let's just get down before he notices us, guys.
No,
So,
we're gonna have to take him with us. I don't want to leave him up there.
Do we have to? Well, alright, look, if we bring George down, that means we have to put somebody else up there. Who are we putting up there?
I think that Musk guy wants to be up there. We'll just put him up there.
Yeah, he doesn't have to pay taxes up here. Alright, cool.
There we go.
So, we're gonna go catch an elongated muskrat, and we'll see y'all later. So, otaku wa, my friends.
Otaku on the daba.
Rock over Boston, rock on Chicago.